day. It's very hot outside. But it's really good to see you. And for those with your webcams on, kudos to you. Really appreciate that. But it's okay if you don't feel comfortable. That's totally fine. So a little bit about me. My name is Michael Wang. I'm usually based in the UK, but I spend quite a lot of time in Europe as well. I'm a newcomer myself. UK is probably, let's say, the third country where I've lived for extended amount of time. Fourth, maybe fifth, depends on how you count extended amount of time. Um, Before I became a business angel, before this, I was an immigration lawyer in the UK for 5 years with my sole practice. And as you can imagine, people came to me not only with their visa questions, but also with problems from all aspects of life. And at that time, while I could solve a lot of their legal issues, I was not able, unfortunately, to solve many aspects. And ultimately, I felt strongly that in order to change the system, in order to make a meaningful impact, it was probably not going to cut it if I continued in law for my whole life. And at the same time, I started doing a little bit of angel investing, and I really saw the potential of innovation-driven enterprises, innovation-driven startups to defy the odds and sometimes to achieve the impossible, to really fight the big guys as the underdogs and to make a meaningful shift. And then I put the two and two together and asked myself, if startups are so powerful, why do we not see any solving newcomer challenges? And of course, that's, where Sen and I met, and that's where we began a wonderful conversation. So the project I'm working on right now is Fertile Soil Ventures, very much aligned with what Singa is doing. So it is an accelerator ecosystem for Europe-based founders of social enterprises tackling newcomer challenges. You probably know about the incubators Singa run. So Fertile Soil Ventures, in some ways, is a follow-up to that. It is for more developed businesses, and it is really focused on getting you funded and putting your business on a sustainable path. All right. So that's a little bit about me. Feel free to connect with me afterwards. I'll share my contact details at the end. Also, I just want to note, I've actually shared a link to the deck in the chat. So feel free to look at that, make a copy of that, use it as a worksheet, refer to that afterwards. And as I said, my contact link is in there. Wonderful. So that's a little bit about me. It would be wonderful to hear a little bit about you. And I know some of you has already told us where you're based. That's wonderful. If you could use one or two sentences to just tell your story, so that could be the story of a venture, or that could be the story of, yourself, where I'm sure you're all very interesting people. Yeah, let's get to know each other. Who would like to go first? Feel free to unmute yourself. Don't need to wait for permission.
I think I can go. Uh,
Yes,
I
yes.
besides my regular work, which is not related to entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to establish a social enterprise, which is mostly focusing on stakeholder value to make employees, all the people who would have more participatory and fair role and stakeholder
Mm.
within different kind of for-profit, non-profit network of enterprises. And so it is still in the early phases. But that's what I'm thinking, working against at the moment. And I live in Kleve. I moved to Germany 1 year before, around 1 year before. Thank you very much again.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Atom. Really nice to meet you. Well done. Um, don't be shy. Someone else. Yeah, Kwebena, please.
So my name is Kwadna. Um, I live I live in Schiefban, but I always say this sort of because nobody knows Schiefban. It's just 20 kilometers away from Düsseldorf. Um, I am also in the startup ecosystem, both in Germany and in Ghana, trying to.
Oh, sorry, we can't. I think we can't hear you. Oh, just a connection issue. No problem. Let's give it a second. Okay, in the meanwhile, let's give the floor to Aya. Yeah, yes, please, Aya.
Hi everyone. Excuse my voice. I'm a bit under the weather and I have problems with my cam, so I won't be opening it. Quickly sharing, as you said, I am now focused on building an nonprofit organization that's focusing on the Arab diaspora in Berlin, and that would also build a bridge between the EU and the Swana area. For me personally, I really not really fond of the term Middle East because it's a colonized kind of term. So we call it Swana area. It is Southwest and North, South Asia and West. North Africa. And yeah, for me, what also has been the, let's say, the guide and the compass of my whole work is humanitarian work, belonging, and building communities. And thank you so much for this amazing event. Looking
Wonderful.
forward
Thank
to them.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well done. All right. To see, or there will be more chances to meet each other, get to know each other later on. We have quite a lot of interactivity planned. There will be some breakout rooms later on, but thanks, Atim, Kwebena, and Aya. Kwebena will welcome you back at some point. Hope your connection improves. So what is investment really? I know it's money and we all want money and money makes the world go around. But the approach I want to take today and the direction I want you to cast your minds today is to go beyond the money. These days, for us investors, for example, there's this idea that money today is commoditized, right? £1 there is the same as £1, €1 here is the same as €1 there. So how do we differentiate ourselves as investors? This implies that not all investments are the same. So to do a really, high school thing, I looked up the definition of investment in the Oxford Dictionary, and this is what it says: the act of putting money, effort, time into something to obtain future benefit. So already you can see it's not just money, it's effort and time, and angels tend to give a lot of these. Some other investment vehicles, other investors might not give so much, something to keep in mind. To obtain future benefit. Now, of course, sometimes that can be financial returns, but again, that is not the case for all investors. Different investors have different mandates, and sometimes it might not be financial at all, which is something we can go into. In exchange for investment, sometimes investors look for equity. This is the most classic case where you're selling effectively part of your company. And in exchange, the investors get a claim on future cash flow, on a proportional future profit. This is the most classical case, which I'm sure you might be aware of. But it might also be a case of influence or rights. So a good example here is sometimes big businesses will invest in small companies, in small startups, in order to continue their influence in their particular market. Sometimes people will invest in companies just to have rights in boardroom meetings and have rights in AGMs, annual general meetings, so they can choose where the future of the business goes. There are lots, as you can see, of future benefits that an investor might expect to receive from an investment. So I would really encourage us to think strategically today. This is certainly the direction I'm going to go in this presentation. Of course, that doesn't mean the tactical and operational details don't matter. They matter greatly in fundraising. But if we had to cover this, we can run like a 10-week seminar to cover all the moving parts. But if you want to have a chat about these, reach out. I'm happy to go through those afterwards. No problem. All right, question for you. Question for you. How long do you think the average marriage lasts in the West, right? In Western Europe? How long do you think the average marriage lasts? Give me a number. Oh, shout out a number in the chat, using your microphone. Give me a number. How many years? 5, 7, 15 to 20. Wow, Adam, you're very optimistic. You're not so disillusioned like the rest of us. That's very good. So the answer is 8 years. Okay, so 7, that you get a prize. That's the closest answer. Now, how long does the average investment relationship last? Or to think about another way, if we think about venture capital funding, how long does the average venture capital fund last? Or how long is the average between money going into a startup and money coming out of the startup? 10, 8, 10. Great. Yeah. I can see we've got people who know what they're doing. Yeah, we've got people who already have some understanding of how the space works. Exactly. Yes. 10 years. So that is usually how venture capital funds are structured. And as a result of the nature of early stage funding, that is how long money is locked up. So as you can see, as a matter of fact, the average investor relationship is longer than the average marriage. An investor is a long-term partner. And actually, I would claim it is harder to get out of an investment relationship than an average marriage, right? Like that, the average lawyer gets paid more to deal with investee breakups than the average family law lawyer does. So if there's so much at stake, why does investment exist? Why do these relationships get established in the first place? Well, it's because both parties believe they're getting value. It's not something sentimental, right? It's not because your investors love you. They might like you, but they certainly are not thinking about you every day before they go to bed. It's because both parties get some value. Founders sell, as we mentioned earlier, equity in the business, sell rights, sell a seat in the room, and investors buy future benefits, which could be cash flow, return on investment, but potentially other things. So as I've indicated, I've gestured towards earlier, some investors do not want monetary return at all. And actually here I also include philanthropic money, right? Donations. So I think about donations as investment because you are giving up on something. And while that might not be equity, you are giving up certain rights, right? That, for example, investors might expect information from you on a regular basis. The investors might expect an influence on a strategy. And the investors get something in return. Yes, they lose all of their capitals, they lose all of their money, but they get impact, they get to be part of a story, and they hopefully get to put the great work you do, they get to include the great work you do in their impact report, in their mission statements, in their reports to their donors, and so on. And at the same time, investors bring more than money. So this is particularly true, I think, with angel investors. So angel investors write the check, great. But you should not overlook an angel investor who might not be able to give you a lot in terms of financially. If they can help you recruit rockstar team members, if they can help you make introductions to key buyers in the market, or to business partners. If they can help you with governance, for example, they have board experience, they can really give you good feedback, or they have specialist sector knowledge, really specialist to your marketplace. All these things could be invaluable. A good angel investor generally is willing to give these things for free alongside their check. And if you just think about it, if you got a consultant to do these things, you could easily be looking at 5 figures, if not more. So sometimes these matter much more than the check itself. I know angels out there who will be investing 5K, but with that 5K, they're literally the favorite person, the founder's favorite person on the cap table because they bring much more than money. Again, your turn. I want to hear from you. Why are you fundraising if you are raising, or why do you plan on raising in the future? Of course, money probably is the top answer, but I would encourage you to go beyond that, right? So beyond purely the capital, why are you hoping to raise, or why are you raising? So let's see it in the chat, or feel free to jump on the mic.
Hi, Sina here. I think one of the reasons that many entrepreneurs try to raise is basically to save themselves a lot of opportunity cost. I think by having some funds, you could actually do some hires and you could be focused on other stuff. So it's more or less the opportunity cost, because once the capital is there, the money itself, if you know how to use it, could also lead to more cash flow.
Great. So, if just to make sure I understood you, basically the idea is to turbocharge operations, and to free the founder's time, where it is most valuable.
Yes.
Yeah, nice one. Great, fantastic. Yes, Raj, please.
Yeah. So I believe raising will depend on what the position you are. You are an VC3 with the infrastructure and you need funds. Can you hear me?
Raj, sorry, you're very quiet. Yeah, if you maybe bring the mic to your.
Okay. Now you
Oh,
can hear me?
perfect. Yes.
Okay. So I was saying that raising depends on the startup position. If it's pre-seed, seed, and all, and in the starting we need money. Definitely, we are not creating any money. We don't have a revenue, so money is needed to create money. That's the simple formula of money making.
Okay.
And if you don't have money, you can't do anything in the first place. And for 12 months as a pre-seed, which I'm running right now, we
Yes.
need money to show the KPIs, metrics, and all. So
Yeah.
before that, we need raising money. It can be from your family, friends, and all other things, bootstrap, or it can be the like a angel investor VC, so that they
Yeah.
are also bringing the experience, all the mentorship, which is very important, other than money also. So yeah.
Yes. Very nice.
Mhm.
So you kind of have made two very good points there. Number one is having the resources in order to build traction, right? You talked about the KPIs. And second one is the experience that, for example, angel investors bring. Tim, you mentioned power energy behind the idea. Yes, that's why investment, the lingo for investment is fuel. We got to put fuel in our rocket ships, and then it will take off. Fantastic. All really good answers. My answer or my provocation to all these answers, and this is something I'm thinking a lot about these days, especially for early stage, is for me as an investor, like I really don't care in some ways what you say in the deck. Yeah. Because from my perspective, like everybody knows, if you're a good founder, eventually what you're going to end up building is not going to be the same as what you present in the deck. Because at this early stage, we don't have enough knowledge. We don't really know what product market fit is going to look like, what ultimately the destination is going to look like. And I want to know how you're going to use your investment to de-risk your venture, to eliminate the biggest risks, and to really learn as quickly as possible the most questions, the biggest uncertainties that you're currently confronting. So that will be an additional answer to already what you've said, which were all very good. And another question for you, what is your mission? What is your mission of your venture? And I think this is a slightly different question to the last one. Because while it is very important to demonstrate traction, yeah, as Raj has mentioned, for example, I don't think that by itself is really the end of any venture. Yes, Raj, please.
Again, me. I didn't tell my startup. So my startup is all about outfit for renting the outfits. And it's kind of a impact and sustainability green tech. So that's what my main focus is, to fashion waste to be reduced, fashion waste and microplastic and all other things which goes from the clothes, because everyone is enjoying. I know Berlin last week or a week ago, we have a pride parade where people wear the costumes and it's just a junk from different countries, cheap products. And after that, it goes in the environment and all. So that is what my basic concept is. Other than that, yeah, making money so that everyone get paid. But first and first, because it's impact and sustainability and green tech.
Yeah, wonderful. Really nice one. So effectively, again, just to make sure I understood you correctly, it is all about reducing waste in fast fashion or costume in your case,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
to build a sustainable business to support that mission.
Yeah. Also, in the finance, we say supply and demand. So we have a demand, a huge demand, because many people wear many things, but we are also increasing the supply. So I just want to disrupt the supply
Yeah,
by renting, because demand will be fulfilled for the customers, but the supply can be disrupted. We don't have to manufacture so much things.
right. Nice. Fantastic. Thank you. Aya.
Well, for me, to answer the first question is mostly sustainability. Because yeah, you can get volunteers, you can run by, as non-profit, you can always run voluntarily and with like minimized costs, partnerships, etc. But at certain point, you need to stay sustainable, and that was like the main reason. And then the mission, it's mainly for us at Masar. Masar is the organization that I'm building now. It's an Arabic word for path. So it's mainly focused on people with migration background. And the core mission is from where you are to where you belong. So exactly finding community interactive events, either online or offline, building the infrastructure for the Arab diaspora, and hold on to what we are building to real life challenges like language, culture, work, etc. So not
Yeah.
just like the regular kind of integration. There's a lot of projects going on in Berlin. So I'm now trying to focus what's really missing there and maybe try to emphasize that.
Yeah, wonderful. Great mission. And of course, very much something I care about deeply as well. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Aya. So we've heard a few answers. Well, give me 1 second, please. Laptop's frozen. Oh. Sorry, 1 second, please. Can you still see my presentation?
We see what's your
Yes.
mission, but it looks like
Yeah.
your video is frozen. Now you're back.
Okay.
You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Zoom stopped responding for 1 second. No worries. Sorry about that. So I thought some of these answers might come up. So we definitely heard impact from both venture ideas. Great. We definitely heard sustainability from both ideas. Great. I think I heard a little bit of scale. I think scale is a good thing. If you can achieve it, but sometimes, there's also merit to staying local and really going for depth rather than breadth. And if I may put words in your mouth, I think we are all very much driven by a sense of purpose. There are lots, the startup ecosystem is quite big. Certainly, there are people who are in it just to make money, right? These people exist. You might have met some of them. But I really think, here with Singer, with what we're doing, I think purpose is probably a very important thing that keeps us, get us to our desk out of bed in the morning. Yeah, wonderful. So I went through these questions because I think, before we even think about the nitty-gritty of fundraising, it's really important to always keep these things in the back of our minds, as our compass, as our North Star. There have been so many, tragic stories where founders have committed to something. They've taken on board money because they were desperate or because they thought it was just a normal thing to do. And 10 years later, they might have become quite wealthy, but they realized they never ended up doing what they set out to do. Not in terms of the product, but in terms of their bigger mission, in terms of their purpose, in terms of their reason for waking up. So sometimes it's easy to lose sight of things, especially as we go into the details of fundraising. So I would encourage us to keep everything we just went through always in the back of our minds. Fantastic. So now we kind of move towards the more technical part of my presentation, where I'm going to go through some of the mainstreams of fundraising one by one. And I'm going to do this by thinking about for each possible option, where does the money come from, factors to consider both pros and cons, and also trying to think a little bit about the psychology of the funder and to put us a little bit in their shoes. I think that's always very important when you're trying to fundraise. Okay, so the first option, bootstrapping and customers. I put this first because actually it's quite easy to forget this is an option, right? So Raj, you said you need money to make money. This is true, of course, especially if you don't have savings, if you can't bootstrap yourself. I would just challenge you slightly in the sense that I believe today, with the rise of AI, with vibe coding, for example, it has never been cheaper to build prototypes. It's never been cheaper to push the minimal viable product out into the market and start generating revenue. So yes, Raj, I'll let you respond to that in a sec. Let me just finish the slide.
Okay.
So where does the money come from? Of course, it comes from your customers, and they pay you because already they perceive some value in the product. Factors to consider. You do not need to deliver a perfect product. In fact, it is a very poor use of resources to deliver a perfect product. I'm sure many of you have heard of the term MVP, and of course, the letter P is the least important letter in this acronym. The other two, minimum viable, are much more important. You simply need to deliver the product which tests one of your hypotheses and which already relates to some kind of value you think you can generate for your customer. And the more minimally viable you can make your product, the cheaper it is, and the faster the money can come back in. But of course, and Raj, I think you're going to mention this, it is not easy to generate a lot of revenue from this. Yeah, Raj, now's a good time for you to jump in.
Yeah, I was just telling it's a minimum viable product, but it's for a SaaS business. When you have a capex, when you have operational things, when you need warehouse, supply chain, then you can't create money. I can make the website, e-commerce, but if the customer orders something, they never get it, and we don't have a minimum viable product because I can't send everything from my home. So some of the times it depends on the business. For SaaS business, it's good for software business, but not for the things which we need as a battery or some car making or something. I don't know. Something
Yeah.
which we need to create or machines is needed or some supply chain is needed. Then you need money.
Yes.
So that we can pay in advance and they will book for 1 year, and then we can create some money and done our MVP. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So that's a very good point. And this is especially true, right? For example, in deep tech, this is especially true. So scientists who want to, create fusion, there is almost no minimal viable product that's possible. And for them, oh, sorry, I skipped a slide. For them, bootstrapping is almost impossible. But Raj, and just to respond to what you just said, we can talk more about this afterwards. Instantly, things like drop shipping, right, came to my mind, or even things like, what if you just did a one-off commission, let's say 100 copies of a product. Your per unit economics is going to be terrible, but it might just be cheap enough for you to generate some initial sales. I'm not saying this is realistic, but it could be. It's something to consider. And of course, because you're dealing directly with customers, they want value and they expect value. They don't care that you're doing this to test your hypothesis. They don't care that you're doing this to, maintain cash flow. They're spending money and that's all they care about. But in a way, that discipline is very useful as a way to test your hypothesis because customers are quite ruthless. Okay, next part, grants and foundations. Now, usually this also is not one of the first streams that gets mentioned in early stage startups funding, but I thought it appropriate, again, given the nature of the work we do, given the areas we work in. So grants and foundations, sometimes it's called free money. I think that's a little bit facetious and unfair. Nothing is given for free. But it is true that they do not dilute your shareholding. And they have no claim on future cash flow as such. Where does the money come from? Mostly it's governments and private charities, right? So famous example of government grants are things like EIT. So these are grants from the EU, right? EIT or EIC money if you're doing something very technical. And governments do this because they are interested from a point of view of national industry, from point of view of national security, for example. In Germany, the government, what I've seen, is quite interested sometimes in like new industrial techniques. Obviously a major part of the German economy. For foundations, they do it because they have a pot of money they have to give out, but they have to give out in such a way to advance their mission. So factors to consider. Usually I feel usually you would spend more time, much more time and resources to obtain such funding. And again, that's why I say it's not free, right? If we take a purely commercial investor, all they care about is you generate financial returns for them. Yes, some financial investors might care about things like ESG. They might care about things, like if you shouldn't make weapons or whatever. But that usually is less onerous and less strenuous than grants and foundations. So a lot of times you see professional service providers out there who say, we will write your grants for free on the condition we take like a 30% cut if you're successful. Like that is a huge expenditure, right? That is a huge amount of money you have to give up if you're successful. So it is definitely not free money, and it might not even be the cheapest money you can obtain. What are they trying to achieve and what do they expect? I think it's very important you think about what they have to report to their upstream donors. So if it's EU funding, then ultimately, the politicians have to justify it to the electorate. Why are they giving away taxpayer money for free to their businesses? Well, it's because in the future they can generate tax revenue, they can save jobs, they can generate jobs. Foundations or obviously, I don't know if you're there in Düsseldorf, but the CEO of Targo Bank was there. And of course, it's very important for them to provide money in order to advance their corporate social responsibilities because they have certain beliefs and values. So if you're going for grants and foundations, it's very important to not just look at the criteria, but understand what values drive the organizations that are doing these and what their vested interests are, because there will be more than just financial. Okay. Any questions so far, by the way? We will have a Q&A afterwards, but if you have any questions at any moment, feel free to jump in. No questions so far? Great. So we can move on. All right, angel investors. My favorite group of people, of course. I'm hugely biased. But yes, angel investors, probably, in my opinion, one of the most important groups of people for early stage venture. Where does the money come from? It's private money, right? So so for me, instead of putting my money in, let's say, SP 500 or an index fund, I disregard all sensible financial advice, and I decide to put it in startups nobody has heard about. Yeah, that's where the money comes from. Why factors to consider? All angel investors in some ways are crazy, right? Because a normal person would tell you, well, angel investing isn't that just a great way to burn money? And I have to be honest, when you look at the data, the returns are not great. Okay? Uh, Especially compared to the effort that angel investors have to put in to achieve a market level rate of return. So this is something important to keep in mind. Also important to keep in mind that angel investors have completely different levels of professionalism. So I spend a lot of time doing this, but equally you will meet angel investors who literally do this as not even a hobby, right? Just as, let's say, something completely on the side, they would spend few hours a month to do. So you might encounter angel investors who don't know what a cap table is. You might encounter angel investors who are first-time investors who have no idea how equity rights work down the line. Equally, you would encounter very professional angel investors. So worth keeping in mind. What are they trying to achieve and what do they expect? So financial returns, of course, but as I just mentioned, the data really do not support this. And if I'm honest about it, it's a way to become part of a community. It's a way to become part of a project. It's a way to get involved, to contribute, to give back. It's a way, even, as alternative, maybe for some angel investors, to the Sunday Golf Club, right? So the motivation here can be quite wide. And it will be useful for you to understand psychologically, if possible, what motivates an angel investor. And here, actually, this is the reason why, in my opinion, like spamming angel investors on LinkedIn doesn't work very well. It can work. I've seen it work, but you're really up against it because you're dealing with extremely diverse cohort of people who are all motivated by different things. And you cannot gauge what motivates them just by looking at their LinkedIn profile. And even AI is not yet sophisticated enough to understand this. What do they expect? A lot of, depends. Some angels, they invest and they would never want to hear from you again, right? They're too busy with their kids. They're too busy with their other things. They just say like, here's a check, come back in 10 years, like give me a 10x return, whatever. That exists. And there are angels who are, like what we call like helicopter investors, like helicopter parents. So they constantly want to talk to you because, they feel entitled now. They've written you some capital to be part of it. Some people might feel entitled to give you advice, even when it's unsolicited and frankly unhelpful. I've heard stories where just because someone wrote like 5,000 euros, they want every piece of information out there and they expect the founder to reply to their emails like in 2 business days, right? Um, to me, that is way over the line. But yes, people like that exist. So this is certainly the most diverse groups of people out there. But I would like to think there are some gems within this group, depending on what you're looking for. Okay, angel syndicates. This is kind of the next level up from angel investors. So angel syndicate is a group of angels who have got together, and instead of making investment decisions themselves individually, they make investment decisions collectively. The idea being that not every single angel is capable of due diligencing every single deal from a wide range of areas and sectors. But as a group, you might have one person who's the right fit, who's an expert, who has the right experience for any particular deal. That person will take the lead on that deal's due diligence, will report back to the syndicate, and the group will invest as a group. So ultimately, the money still come from the individual angels, but the lead angel will have much more influence over the other angels. Factors to consider. Your ticket size could be larger because instead of getting individual 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 tickets, you might even be able to pull off, let's say, 100,000 euros from an angel syndicate, from an individual angel syndicate. That does mean, however, the process is longer. Individual angels might be able to say yes or no in 2 weeks, whereas an angel syndicate, on average, might take, a month if you're lucky. And that's simply because there's more due diligence to be done. That lead angel has more responsibility and also more expertise to interrogate you and to diligence you. Sometimes deals are done through SPVs, so special purpose vehicles. That might involve a little bit more legal work, but it's not as bad as, say, if you get investment from a VC fund. What are they trying to achieve and what do they expect? Here, I find the motivations are a little less diverse than individual angels. That's because when angels join syndicate, usually the more junior angels, the more less experienced angels defer to the more senior angels. The junior angels know they don't have a lot of experience. You talk to some of them, they will just tell you, I'm just here to learn. And I don't even care what I invest in. I'm just going to like write random checks to what the groups agree and see how it goes and learn. At the same time, angel syndicates care much more about their reputation than individual angels. Because sometimes these angel syndicates are run commercially. So their existence relies on cash flow, and their cash flow relies on the reputation they have amongst angels as well as amongst founders, right? So they can get good deal flow. So because their reputation matters a bit more, you can expect that they might actually have, let's say, vertical preferences. They might be very explicit in terms of their metrics that they're looking for. I've heard angel syndicates who like run like psychometric tests for founders, potential founders. I think that's a bit too extreme, but they're free to do whatever they want. certain groups are very specialized in certain areas. Yeah, as I've already mentioned. But actually, in terms of financial returns, it's not it's surprisingly not one of their top priorities. Why? Because most angel syndicates are not old enough. They do not survive long enough to actually have that data, 10 years down the line of what their finances look like. Very few angel syndicates survive that long to have that financial data. Okay. I think I've got one more slide after this. So this is like the heavy duty part of the presentation. So I hope you stay with me and of course jump in anytime with questions. Venture capital, the most traditional fund path of funding for early stage commercial startups. Love them or hate them, they're the backbone of the ecosystem. Where does the money come from? It doesn't actually come from the venture capitalists, right? So the people you talk to at venture capital firms, it's not their money you're getting. Yes, 2% of your investments might come from them, might even be 5%, but the rest come from what we call limited partners. So these are usually institutional investors, like really big money, who have invested, who have trusted the venture capitalists, who have trusted the funds with their money. So the venture capitalists are investing someone else's money. So another step up, pardon me, from the angel syndicates. And here the difference is they've been entrusted entirely with their judgment, right? They have full discretion sometimes to decide which investments they make. Yes, sometimes the limited partners still make an input, but much more discretion. Factors to consider. Venture capitalist funds, like it's actually quite hard to raise a VC fund, even for a small fund of like 10 million to 50 million. And that's because you really have to differentiate yourself, right? You really have to tell to your LPs, your limited partners, the ultimate investors, why they should give their money to you, to the fund, to this fund, to your fund, and not somebody else's. That means venture capitalists do a lot of work producing what is called a thesis, right? Their special source of where the market is going to go and why this little corner of the market will produce exceptional return, outsized return over other parts of the market. And that leads me nicely to what they're trying to achieve. So, or in some ways, to become a venture capitalist, you have to think you are like exceptional. You have to think you're a genius. You have to think you've seen something nobody else has seen. And therefore, you are able to create like exceptional return or impact or whatever for your investors. What also that means is you, as the startup, has to match what that venture capitalists think they see. Okay, so you as a startup needs to match their thesis, and some of these theses might be broad, some of these theses might be quite specific, and it is a total waste of everybody's time for you to knock on the door of a venture capital fund's door whose thesis is not alignment for you. In the worst case, they will not reply. In the best case, they will reply, and because they don't know how, they don't have their operation sorted out or whatever. They have a junior who wants to pump up their numbers, and you would just contribute to that person's deal flow. That's it. It is very specific what VC funds look for. Okay. Is this the last? Yes, last slide. Last slide when it comes to different types. Family offices. Okay. Family offices are effectively very, very wealthy individuals, right? They're so wealthy, they've gotten to the point where they can hire highly paid professionals to look after their money. So like the threshold to create a family office usually is a net worth of 30 million. Okay. That's because you're occurring expenses of like at least 500,000 dollars a year just to run these operations and look after that pot of money. The money usually comes from business success. Okay, so this can be founders who've exited unicorns, right? Or these can be very old industrial families. So one of the oldest family offices, one of the biggest family offices, for example, is the family office of the founder of Fiat in Turin. Factors to consider. They come in all shapes and sizes. You might think 30 million is a lot, but actually that's like the smallest possible family office. Family offices go up to, billions. And because fundamentally they serve the interest of a family, in some ways their mandate can be even more niche than VC funds, right? So I've come across family offices whose whole thing is like investing in the industry that made that family rich. And you could understand why. Because the founder worked their whole life in that industry. And it might be like retail, it might be food, it might be, something very unglamorous or whatever. And they just want to give back by supporting new founders in that area. But also that means, interestingly, for our purposes, is some family offices are into impact, right? Because family offices often include a philanthropic arm, right? Family offices usually these structures of providing a total service over the family's assets. And that including giving money away as part of philanthropy. That includes giving money away in order to generate impact. One thing to consider, in terms of what do they expect, and this is a personal opinion. I don't have the data to back it up. It's just anecdotal. Is that because family offices are not so institutional, sometimes they have like slightly quirky methodologies when it comes to like, for example, measuring impact. They might have slightly quirky like due diligence processes that might not be industrial standard. Something to watch out for. But I think family offices really could be the toughest ones to unlock because to tap them, you need to know someone who knows someone. Usually they do not respond at all to cold inquiries. And as you can expect, to know someone with that like amount of net worth, yeah, it's quite difficult, right? It depends on your network, perhaps even more than VCs. So that's a nice segue to my concluding slide, which is to say, I guess the hard truth. Fundraising, unfortunately, is not meritocratic. It probably is the opposite of meritocratic. We know from data that the biggest predictor of fundraising success is network. How close is your network to these gatekeepers, right? So how close is your network to these venture capitalists, for example? Do you have angels in your network? And this is proven by a lot of data, right? And actually, the data shows long-term financial performance has very little relation with who gets funded. Yeah. And it actually has very little relationship with where the money goes. So a lot of hot money goes into, bets, which actually deliver very mediocre returns. So it's very unfair, especially for people from not traditional backgrounds, such as newcomers, such as women. Women are, systematically underfunded. people such as those without like traditional educational background, without traditional professional experience and so on. All these things are things that the industry needs to look at and work on. But the hard fact is this is the system we've got, and it is not meritocratic. But it is my view that if you understand the system, that is the first step to hacking it, right? We all, as startup founders, I think we all have a little bit of this hacker mindset. So I would encourage you to think about fundraising in the same way, even though fundamentally I would make the claim that the system is biased against non-traditional founders. All right, fantastic. So that's the end of my presentation. I've talked long enough. You're probably sick of my voice for now. So I think it is time for group discussion. Sen, I think we got enough people to break it into two groups. What do you think?
Yes, agreed. We've got a couple of breakout rooms ready for you, and there's going to be somewhere between 4 to 5 people per breakout room. And again, I'm aware that it's the end of the day and that you might be a bit tired or zoomed out from having many calls of the day. If you would be willing to switch on your camera while you're in the breakout room, that would be very much appreciated and welcome. And at the same time, very understanding that if that feels like too much in this moment, feel free to take a little break and join us in about 15 minutes when we're going to hear some question and answers from the topics that you've generated from your breakouts.
Yeah, great. And Sam, will you assign the breakout rooms?
Yes, so breakout rooms are here already. And the questions that we've got for you here are, why, sorry, your video is blocking my view of it, but I've got our 3W questions.
My face, yeah.
So if you just duck over to one side, then we can see what the questions are. What is investment for you right now? Why are you raising? And what's your mission? So these were the questions that we posed to you at the beginning. And as you've been hearing Michael speak about the 6 different funding pathways, maybe some of the answers to your questions will have developed a bit. Thank you, Etim. So it's also an opportunity for you to speak out loud the venture, the initiative that that you're working on right now, and to just kind of like talk aloud. There's no stupid questions. I'm sure that we're all coming into this as newbies on some front, and we're here to learn together. So encourage you to just speak about what you're doing and to name what's coming up for you. Okay. And with that in mind, here we go. And Michael, you and
I will. Yeah. So I'll also add, after this, we'll have a dedicated Q&A section. So if any questions come up during the group discussions, don't worry, we've got a reserved slot for them.
Thank you. So we're going to do about 10 to 12 minutes, and then we're going to come back. So please stay with us. And after that, just to tease it a little bit, I'd love to tell you about some of the upcoming events that we have at Singa that you might be interested in. So see you in a little bit. Hey, welcome back. All right, so we are getting everyone back in the room, and just so you know, we are resumed with our recording. I hope that you had a chance to introduce yourselves, to connect a bit, to hear from the others about what they're building, and to generate some questions. And so we're going to move back into our bigger group mode, and we'd love to hear what were some bigger questions that this conversation touched for you. What would you like to use our time to ask Michael about? And anyone can unmute or type directly into the chat. Go ahead, Aya.
Yes, Aya, please.
So my question is now, since I've been struggling a lot now with the German market and positioning myself, because for me I immediately got into the job market before even like from the first year of university. And now whenever I was trying to find a job, it's always irrelevant because I studied English literature from Syria 2016. Like who needs that? Especially in the international sector or the humanitarian or social work, they always need like a minimum master's or doctorate for such things. Is there anything that I can do to improve this part of my skills and knowledge? Because now it's already too much on my plate to invest in doing a master or like taking like a credit course, maybe something that I can do. I have LinkedIn Premium, so maybe some courses on LinkedIn, if that's really relevant. Because I'm also really scared now with the job application. Most of the time now, there's this ATS systems or filters that you would get filtered so quickly, so easily. Also now as a founder, positioning myself as an English language graduate, it's not that strong. So what would you advise me to change this position or to make my presence stronger, let's say, in that area?
Great question. It's a very rich question. Let me just think about it. It's a very good question.
Your
Right?
time. Thank you.
First of all, I would say having a degree in English language is extremely valuable. And that is a great degree to have. I also did a quote unquote useless degree. Yeah. In the humanities. Yeah. Um, but look, here's the thing. So I can't really speak to the job market part. That's not really my expertise. But I can speak about this idea, this topic of how founders can brand themselves, right? Or yeah, how founders can escape stereotypes and so on. I think like once upon a time, I was on this webinar where someone said something pretty wise, I thought, right? So this person said, like, you don't have a choice whether you brand or not. Like, especially as a founder or especially as a public figure or whatever. You have a brand, regardless whether you think you have a brand or not. You always have a brand. The question is simply, are you in control of your brand or not? Right? So that's quite interesting because I think the first natural reaction to overcome is this skepticism with branding. Like, oh my God, branding is what these like evil corporations do. It's not genuine, right? Um, I think there's a lot of space today for grounded, sincerity first branding, right? Um, and you know what Oscar Wilde said, right? You did a degree in English language, so maybe you know what Oscar Wilde said. The only thing worse than not being talked, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about, right? So I guess what I'm saying is branding requires strategy, and you need to make some decisions which will have some pros and cons. So you can decide to be not offensive, like everybody will find you vanilla, and then maybe you will not be talked about at all. And maybe you'll be happy about that. Or you can go with a strategy that's more polarizing, right? Like if you just say like, look, I'm just like an impact person. I believe in X, Y, Y, Z. Like this is the truth and that is bullshit. Like half the people will not talk to you, but maybe 10% of the people who really matter will talk to you, right? And that is not something anyone can decide for you. And that is something that requires knowledge of the market and knowledge and judgment on your part based on your self-perceived strength, weaknesses, where you want to go, which is why we talked about those big questions at the beginning. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, I know it's really tough. I also don't do this as well as I could. I think we can always do this better. But being intentional about it, I think will be really helpful.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Hopefully
Yeah.
that answers some of your question.
Yeah.
I have to jump in here also, because I think so many of us come from backgrounds that are not officially entrepreneurship, myself included. And it lends a strength and a resilience to your life path, for the fact that you're now embarking on something new, and that there's a story there. There's a very important story about what this pivot was for you, why you chose to go into founding a business now. And that's probably informed by the things that you've read in literature, the stories that form all of our histories and our cultures. And I think that there's a very strong case to be made about you being able to tell a narrative that most people are not able to because of the things that you've seen, the things that you've lived, and the things that you've read in literature. And all of us are informed by stories. So I think I completely agree with Michael. I think it's about owning it, and saying, look, I have a background that most people don't have. It's literature, it's beautiful. And this is now what I'm building with it. So I think we need more of that, you know. I'm really excited.
I love this approach so much.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what your story is.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was so inspiring. Like completely shifting my point of view for this part. Thank you.
Great, thank you, thank you. Any other questions? Don't be shy. No bad questions. Happy to answer anything that's come to your mind. Anything in chat? Questions? Anyone?
Perhaps one question from me. I think it's quite important. You mentioned that there are a lot of different type of funding. So the question I would be asking myself is, of course they exist, and I kind of know their agenda right now, but how could I position myself based on the product or the business that I'm offering to be kind of eligible for the funding that they have to offer? Like, is there any coaching or any sort of institutions that they would be like, we will coach you guys, and once the fund is there, we get our half or something like that, that I don't have to spend from my own pocket as of right now, but once the money comes in, they take their share. Is there something like that that exists?
Yeah, good, very good question. Thank you. Okay, this is my personal opinion, right? Unless you are applying for grants, it's almost paradoxical. Yes, these institutions exist, these businesses exist, almost certainly harm your prospect rather than help you. Okay. The exception being grants, in my opinion. The reason for this is if we're investing at early stage, every early stage investor who knows what they're doing will tell you the number one thing we're investing is not the idea. The number one thing we're investing is not the market. the number one thing we're investing is the founder. Okay. And we're investing in this founder, not because just, maybe they're technical, whatever, but because they're all-rounder, because they can do everything. They can do sales, they can do strategy, they can do product, they can do marketing, they can do tech. But tech might not even be necessary. So for an early stage investor to receive something that might be very polished, but that is not you, that takes away like the one thing they need to make their decision on, which is you as the founder, right? Are you as a founder a good fit for what they're looking for? So that's the first point I would like to make. The second point is some of these businesses are extraordinarily expensive and the incentives are misaligned, right? Imagine, and I've come across founders who've gone through these businesses. Like, imagine you go through one of these businesses. What are they going to say to you? They're not going to say to you, first of all, it's very rare, except for grants, but that's a separate story. They're going to ask for money upfront because they know how rarely, like how tough it is to get funded. They cannot run a business based on success fees alone. So they're going to ask you to pay upfront. But once you paid upfront, think about their incentive, right? They're not incentivized to tell you like listen, like frankly, like this part is not good enough, or like that part is not good enough. You really need to improve here and there. They will not be incentivized to do that because they're incentivized to keep you happy, to make you feel like they're giving some feedback. So maybe you'll continue to use their services and pay them. My advice here, and of course, it's just my personal opinion, is if like you need to pay to go to accelerator, for example, I would question the alignment there of incentives. Because if it's an accelerator you don't need to pay to go to, then they will be more free to give you frank feedback, which is the most valuable thing for early exception. I say grant is the exception because like grant funding is like a whole different game, right? Like the way grant must use a certain way of talking. You must use a certain language. You must use certain methods when it comes to calculating things. And when it comes to these things, depending on the grant, I can see an argument for using commercial services. Yeah, that's just my hot take. But great question. Yeah, thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Frederick.
hi, Michael. I would like to know. I have received grant from the German government 2 years back before starting my business. Then right now, I really got into reality, like everything, So what I want to ask is like, you're from UK, so what? I am doing my due diligence as well to know about angel investors in every country. But what would be your suggestion? Where should I look for them? You are one of them, right? But I have already sent you a LinkedIn, but that's another question. But and that is one question. Other one is like up to how much amount I can ask from a business angel investor.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Great, love it. Great questions. Thank you. So tackling them in turn. First question. Doesn't matter where the angels are from. So this is getting a little bit into like the tactical side, yeah, which is good you bring it up because it wasn't in the presentation. I think it does matter where the angels are from for like several reasons. So number one is just like how big the market is, right? So as you may know, like legally, not everybody is allowed to angel invest. Like funnily enough, the governments do not allow anybody to become an angel investor. You must meet like a certain income or net worth or experience threshold. Okay. So in certain countries, there's just a smaller pool of such people. Now, Germany is not so bad. Austria is not so bad. I would argue the UK is the best in terms of the size of that market for Europe. But Germany is not so bad. Of course, the US is the best, right? But you might have heard about that already. Someone recently told me that like very soon 30% of all Americans will be eligible to become angel investors, which is crazy because I think in the UK it's like in Europe it's like single digits. That's the first consideration. The second consideration is tax incentives. Tax incentives do like really matter when it comes to angels, because many governments like give out tax credits if you do angel investments. So the UK has a very famous scheme. The tax incentives are quite generous, but it does mean if you want to take advantage of those tax credits, which a lot of UK angels care about, you need to like reincorporate your company in the UK and whatnot, right? So you need to become a UK business. You can understand why the UK government wants this, right? And yes, because the incentives are very strong, a lot of UK angels really care about this. I'm sure there are similar schemes in Germany. I've heard like other European countries are trying to develop similar schemes. I'm not sure about the details, but just bear in mind this is quite a strong factor in influencing how angels think tactically. The last point is I think various like ecosystems have different strengths, right? Like UK ecosystem is very strong in like biotech. You might expect this because we've got Oxford, Cambridge, which are very strong in biotech research, and angel clusters have kind of, coalesced around those. In Europe, we've got like very strong, for example, like female impact angel clusters, right? We've got like specific like industrial angel groups in Europe, which we don't really see in the UK. So that's another aspect to keep in mind, right? Which specific areas are the angels strong in? Second question now, which is the size? It again depends on the market. In the UK, one of the points I made is angels are a very diverse group of people, right? So some angels will only write 5K tickets. And some angels who are quite wealthy, but not wealthy enough to build family offices, might write 100,000 K ticket. It depends on how much they like your business, right? If it depends on how much money they've got that year. It depends on how much tax credit they want that year, you know. If you're in the US, you can ask angels for 200, 300,000, right? I don't think you can ask for more than 100,000 in the UK. But you never know, never say never. A more important point, however, is like you shouldn't be asking angels, like you shouldn't be coming out, in my opinion, with like a ticket size. You should just say like I'm raising X, like I'm raising 1 million and 5 million valuation, right? And you can like minimum size is 20 or 5, whatever. You can set a minimum, and then it depends on how much they like you, right? I think that's like the usual way these deals are done with angels. Does that answer your question? You can feel free to ask a follow-up. Yes, Raj.
Okay, I was having a question similar to this only,
Yeah.
but as I'm in a pre-seed and pre-valuation, how to have an evaluation, like what is the value of my startup? Also, is it a good, because in Germany it's not common, but in US I see like they are going the safe, that they don't know the pre, and after that they post evaluation, pre-evaluation and all before the, and they also go for a series A. So in Germany it's not common because ESOP is also not common, and those terms are not common, very too much common, venting period and all with the co-founders. So how to deal with this in the German market, basically?
Okay, great. Sen, I'm going to start, but if you feel like you have something to add, because it's specifically about the German art market, feel free to jump in. So the first question is valuation. So you've hit upon a really interesting topic, right? Which is like at pre-stage, there's almost nothing. So how is valuation decided? It's not random. That's the first thing to say. As difficult as it is, it's not random. Uh, Several factors come in to determine the valuation, right? Like the first thing to say is like this very cliched microeconomic point. Like you are worth what the buyers will pay for, right? So sometimes the market is super hot, like during COVID 2020, like weird ideas for getting like 10 million, 20 million valuation. And now we're like really in a low, right? Unfortunately. So, we're not seeing these valuations. So like market conditions certainly matter. It's a matter of supply and demand. But if we look at just like within at any moment in time, why valuations differ between each other, right? So everybody is facing the same market conditions. Why does startup A get a higher valuation than startup B? Couple of things. The quality of the founder matters, right? Look, if you're like like I said at the end of my presentation, fundraising is not meritocratic. If you're like ex Stripe or like ex Uber or whatever, right? You probably command a higher valuation, right? Just because you're perceived to be less risk. Yes, we know actually migrants create far more successful businesses, blah, blah, blah. Migrants are far more resilient. Yes, I believe this, but unfortunately, the world does not believe this. But the world, if you're ex-Uber, the world believes you. So yes, there you attract a higher valuation. Traction certainly matters. Traction can be a major factor in determining evaluation. And Raj, actually, this is a good moment for me to go back to an earlier point you said, right? How can we demonstrate traction without money? Actually, it's very important you demonstrate traction without money. Okay, it's critical, and you can definitely do this. If you came to me, if you're a startup A and you said we have this huge market opportunity. And I know this because here's some report that these other firms wrote. I don't care, right? And I'm gonna deduct your points for evaluation. If you come to me instead, Roger, you said, "Oh, we talked with 100 potential users. Okay, we interviewed them. We ran some Google ads with 100 pounds. Doesn't matter, 100 pounds. And here is the result we have. And here's what people have said about our business, about our product, even though that product doesn't exist. Oh, wow, that is traction. Traction does not have to be revenue. Traction can simply be signals of product market fit. Because we know at pre-seed stage, like you don't have revenue, right? Nobody has revenue. And so that will affect your valuation. Look, at the end, like the sad thing to say is the standard valuation in the UK for pre-seed is like 3 million, right? That's kind of the baseline today where people go off. You might gain some brownie points, you might lose some brownie points, right? If you go to the US, it's 10 million, but that's just the market. That's just the market. Yeah, Sen, do you have any? Oh, and sorry, before I finish, safes. Safes are great. I love safes. The equivalent to safes in the UK is called um sorry, in this is for future. In the US, they're called safes. In the UK, it's called by a different name, but it works exactly the same way. Okay. In Europe, what I've seen a lot, because the European legal system is different, so you can't exactly transpose that instrument. But what I've seen quite often are convertible loan instruments. So on paper, it's a loan, but everyone knows you never intend to pay it off. And 1 year later, 2 years later, whatever, it converts into equity. So that basically functionally works exactly the same as a safe. Yes, safes are great because it means you don't have to price around, and your exact valuation is not determined on the spot, but your exact valuation is determined, let's say 1 year or 2 years down the line when you have like a further round of investment. Yeah. So, angel investors tend to like those. But like I mentioned earlier, you might find yourself having to explain to very novice angels, this is not a scam. This is industry standard. And, I'm not trying to scam you with some exotic legal instrument. Yeah.
That's true. But is there any universal formula like founders, team, traction, product market fit, and all these things I understand, but there is any formula where we can put it, okay, and something is missing, and then we can put the valuation?
No, there's no formula. This is not
Okay.
Series A or Series B. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But in a way, it's good because there's no formula, because then you can sell your story, right? Sell your dream, sell your ambition. If there's a formula, then it's like, actually, that's why I mean early stage and not later stage, because then it's just like a purely desk-based mathematical exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Are there any final questions? Final questions. Last call. Last call. Okay, once, going twice.
Perhaps the very last question. So,
Yes.
what would be the next steps? Like, would you guys be offering more of these seminars? Because I found it quite helpful. Like, how could we get in touch? Like, what would be the offer from you guys? Thank you.
Great question. Sen, would you like to start with that one?
Yes, definitely. So this is something that we would actually love to hear from you about, and I will show you a link to a feedback document where you can tell us what was specifically helpful about this session and what would you like to see more of. So that can also be something very specific to your case. So don't worry about, is this relevant for the entire community, but specifically, what is the question that you have about raising as a founder?
And I would just add, there's quite a lot of exciting things planned. I want to echo Sen, your input is the most valuable thing here, because otherwise we cannot create something that brings value to you. And I would encourage you to follow Singa as well as Fertile Soul Ventures. That way you will be the first to hear what we've got planned as soon as they come up. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your questions. Really good questions. Really enjoyed answering them. And that's a nice segue to the next slide.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us for this long. I know that it's been a longer session, and I hope that you've been taking lots of value from it. As some of you know, we have quite a few offerings at Singa, and I'd like to invite you to some of the ones coming up in the next weeks. So as we all know, many of us are newcomers to Germany, to German culture, and sometimes this might bring up certain friction points or points of confusion or miscommunication. I know that I've certainly been through my fair share of it in my 11 years in Germany. So something that I wish that I had when I first arrived was a session about understanding the logics of how German society works. So on August the 6th, we have a lunch and learn with an intercultural trainer who has grown up across many different cultures and who landed back in the German culture and had to kind of relearn things from the perspective of being a newcomer herself. So this is August 6th. I'm going to be dropping links to where to sign up for all of this, and you'll also receive a recap email. But let me just put this here in the chat. On August the 8th, for those of you who are based in Berlin, we are having an in-person event in the Singa office, which we call Napkin Sketch Pitches. And this is based off of the idea that many important ideas are born not from a beautiful slide deck, not from a really well-formulated concept note, but from a sketch on the back of a napkin, something that's easy to understand, something that's easy to present. And this is what we would love to invite you into, to bring your idea, whatever stage it's at, to whatever level of polishedness or not polishedness it's at, and to present it in a small group in a supportive manner, where you'll have about 3 to 5 minutes to simply talk about your idea. and then receive some questions and feedback. And here, is it landing? Do people even understand what this idea is about? And are there people who are already in the community who might be able to connect you to the next person that you should speak to? So we do this event in cooperation with our partners IDEA, who are the Afro-German community of founders in Berlin and Hamburg. This will be between 12, sorry, you can't see, it's 1:30 to 5 o'clock in the Singer office. It's on a Saturday, and we'll be providing snacks and drinks. And then coming up in late August to early September are the applications to our flagship event, which is the Berlin Newcomer Startup Award. This is an event which is now in its 8th year running, and we will be taking applications and hosting the event at the beginning of November. This is an event where you're able to win a share of 27,500 euros, and this is money that you can use to kickstart your business. It is a grant. It is not a loan, and it is not equity. So we are very excited to see your applications and to potentially see you on stage. So I've got the links to all of these events in the chat now. And that's it. So the next thing that I will ask you to do is to please spend the next 2 minutes, it will not take longer than 2 minutes, on a feedback form. And this will let us know how closely this session matched your expectations. The fact that you stayed almost the entire 2 hours tells me that it definitely delivered value to you, but I'd love to know what specifically was useful for you so that we can continue to offer that. And to answer your question about what's coming next, please let us know. This is exactly the place where we can develop new offerings for you. So the QR code is there, and I will also put the link in here. So if you could spend the next 2 minutes on that, that would be super helpful for us. And you can also connect with Michael on his LinkedIn as well as his venture, Fertile Soil Ventures. Okay, welcome back, Karthik. I have just posted a feedback form for us in the chat here. I'll just put it there for you again. And upcoming events from the Singer community. Right there. All right, and as you're finishing up your feedback form, I'll say thank you again for all of you who joined us for the session and hope to see you for the next one. Feel free to reach out to both of us on LinkedIn, follow Singer and Fertile Soul Ventures, and we'll see you very soon. All right.
Thank you. Nice to see everyone. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.